Look at that. Jethro speaking, he says, now obey my voice, and I will give you advice, and God be with you. You shall represent all the people before God and bring their cases to God, and you shall warn them about their statutes and the laws and make them known the way in which they must walk and what they must do. Jethro wasn't trying to steal away authority from Moses, not at all. Jethro was trying to free Moses up so he could do a better job. Moses was still going to be the teacher. Moses was still going to be the judge on the hardest, the most difficult and challenging of issues. Moses was going to be a counselor. Jethro was not taking away any of that responsibility. And what we need to do in our church is we need not to take away responsibility from our pastors. Our pastors are responsible for the spiritual condition of this church. They are. I am. And Rick Donald, who is also an elder with us, who lives in Chicago, but he's an elder on our team. Rick and I have a weekly meeting to help run our church. And in a year, maybe a year from this day, maybe 1 year from today, we'll be installing our own elders. We're going to take some time so we get the right men to do that. We'll look and find out which men are called, gifted, and desirous to serve in this capacity. And we'll have our own team of elders. And those elders, I'll be one of those. Those elders will make the decisions for our church. We need to have the authority of the local church in the elders. The elders will set the spiritual direction of the church. They'll determine the doctrine of the church. They'll work on issues of discipline in the church. They'll help us with direction. Okay, that's what the elders will do. We'll have that. We need to have the elders, just like Moses need to stay in the right position. But then it goes on and he says this in 21, moreover, in addition to Moses being the leader, in addition to Moses being the counselor, the teacher, and the judge, look for able men from all the people, men who fear God, who are trustworthy and hate a bribe, and place such men over the people as chiefs of thousands, of hundreds, of fifties, and of tens, and let them judge the people at all times. Every great matter they shall bring to you, they shall bring to Moses, but any small matter they shall decide for themselves. So it will be easier for you, Moses, and they will bear the burden with you. If you do this, God will direct you, you will be able to endure, and all the people will go to their place in peace. And so Jethro's plan was a good one. It was a good one. It was calling for a selection of spiritual leaders, and those spiritual leaders would help to organize and to run the church. And we see some wisdom out of this little portion of Exodus 18. There's 3 spiritual truths that we want to get. First, the spiritual leaders need to be mature. So you say, hey, Doug, I think I can help you out in the church, man, because I got a big business and I'm a big shot. And big shots need to not apply at our church because we're not looking for big shots. We're really not. We're not looking for big shots at all. We're not looking for people who have lots of degrees. We're not looking for people who have necessarily lots of experience. We're not looking for people who have achieved some degree of success in the business world or personally. We're not looking for that necessarily. What we're looking for is found right here in the beginning of this passage. Moreover, look for men from all over, people who, encircle that in your text, people who fear God. We're looking for spiritually mature people. Now we're going to be looking for that. We're going to be looking for guys who can be mature like that. In our small groups, we're talking about the people who will be the leaders. We're very concerned about the spiritual maturity of our small group leaders right now. We're in the process right now of selecting that. And we're talking about you. We're looking at you and we're talking about you, saying, is this person at the level? And we don't know that. We don't know that. We're going to have a first small group leaders meeting next week. I'm going to ask everybody that question because I don't know everything about you. I'm going to ask, are you mature? Those who have been invited, I'm going to ask that. And if you're not, or if you're struggling with something, perhaps you need to step out for a while. We want everybody to get there, but we're asking people to be mature. And that's who we're looking for, people who love God, people who are walking with God, people who are mature in their relationship with God. The first qualification for people who are going to help run our church is going to be people who love God more than they love other things. People who put God first. People who put His Word first. People who say we're going to do it God's way and don't have any other motive involved in getting things done. Men who fear God, who are trustworthy. Men who hate dishonest gain. The pastorate is a place to get all kinds of dishonest gain. I know it starts off little, but I could say, hey, you want to go to lunch? And then when you come, I just pull this thing. Ray does this to me all the time. You know, he says, oh, I forgot my wallet. And next thing you know, I'm buying Ray's lunch. But I could do that with you. Just kind of go slow and look. And I know it's only a little thing, like you're nickel and diming people for $7, but you can steal from people like that. can steal it. If you go to lunch with me and we go more than once, I'm going to try to be the first one to pay. And then at least we'll go 50-50 all the time. We need people who don't want dishonest gain. You don't know what I do all week long. You know where my office is? Wherever I decide to get coffee that day. Wherever I decide to get coffee. You don't know where I'm doing. You don't know what time I get there. You don't know how long I'm going to stay. You don't know what. I could be ripping the church off. Any pastor could be, because it's hard to qualify. We got to be careful that we don't have people who are looking for dishonest gain. Men who've been measured. We need to examine that and look at that. We need to have men who are godly. An elder also needs to be a man who is trustworthy. It says that too. A man who are trustworthy. This trustworthy is somebody who is reliable. It's somebody who keeps his commitments. It's characterized by honesty and integrity. It has to do with how I relate to you. Am I trustworthy? Can you trust me? I hope you can, and I'm going to tell you that you can, but I would encourage you to keep watching me and to examine me. And if you see something that doesn't make sense, I would encourage you to kindly and softly approach me on that. Kindly and softly, okay? Because if I get like 10 of you doing it one day, I could be up to here with it, but I would definitely encourage you to do that. And those of you and so if I'm going to say for you to examine me, then as we find men and women who are going to lead in this church, we're going to examine you. Because I think you should be subject to the same kind of criteria that I am. And that's how it's going to happen. We're looking for people to lead our church just like Moses was. They need to be godly and mature. The second principle is that we need to have spiritual leadership that must be representative of our whole church. I hope this is an encouragement to many of you. Look back at verse 21. It says, moreover, look for men from all the people. So we started off with a little group of people. It was Woody and Katie. It was Ray and Shirley. It was Jim and Kim. Right at the beginning, it was like 6 of us. It grew quickly from there, but we were about 6 of us. And then we had this core group that met. It was about 25 people. And a lot of you weren't in that core group. And so what are you thinking right now? Are you thinking, well, I'm kind of on the outs. I'm not like part of the core group, and I'm not in the core, and so I'm out. No, one of the principles is that we need to have men and women who are representative of our whole entire church. We're inviting you to come and to be part of this. We're inviting you to, I like the analogy, when I went to the Big E one year, I saw those Hallmark horses, those big Clydesdale horses or whatever kind of horse. They hook the harness on, and then the guy gets in there, and then he I don't know if it's the word whip, but he whips the horse with that thing, and all the horses at once take their right leg and take a step. Everyone pulls. The wagon just jerks to a start, and the ground shakes. And we're inviting you, hook up to the harness, man. Hook up and pull. We need you. Anybody who's here, who's godly, and who's desirous to grow, and who buys into our mission, anybody can hook and pull. Any one of you. I am inviting you personally. All the people of this church, come and get on board with us. No matter where you come from, come and get on board. Not only are they mature, but we need to have leaders that are representative of the entire church. And the third principle is that spiritual leadership, it must be shared. We see that in, let's see, we'll pick it up in the middle of verse 22. Every great matter they'll bring to you, but any small matter they will decide themselves, so it'll be easier for you. They will bear the burden with you. What we need to do is we need to share the leadership. You see, when you work the whole paradigm like this, where you got one person on top, then that person can only do 168 hours a week of work. There's a limit. And we can't reach Western Massachusetts. We can't reach the town of Ludlow. There's too many people in it, 20-something thousand people. We can't reach the Pioneer Valley, 675,000 people. We can't reach Western Mass, 814,000 people. We can't reach the 6 million people in our state. We can't reach the 18 million people in New England. We can't possibly get the job done. And God has given us a command, and the command is to make disciples, not to put someone at the top that limits you. It's to spread the workload out so that people aren't standing there saying, what's the good news? Tell me. But the pastor can't get to them. We need to tell them. All of us. We need to share the load. And there's something about sharing, isn't it? It's nice to get a piece of the puzzle. But also there's some responsibility that comes. We need people who want to hook up. We need people who want to pull hard. We need people who say, I will handle that. I will take care of that. I'm so proud of the people that have been part of our core and up to our church at this point. Nate and Lindsay got involved in our church a little later on, and yet they have just jumped in. Tom and Lori, the same thing. There's been so many people who have got on board and just have taken ownership of this. There's so many things that I personally have no clue about what's going on in this church because those people have taken ownership and done excellent jobs with those things. We're looking for people like that to spread the word. Otherwise, we can't possibly get it done. And so verse 24 says that Moses listened to the voice of his father-in-law and did all that he says. And Moses chose able men out of Israel. And he made them heads over the people, chiefs of thousands, of hundreds, of fifties, and tens. And they judged the people at all times. Any hard case they brought to Moses, but any small matter they decided themselves. Moses let his father-in-law depart, and he went away to his own country. The mission that God has called us to is a mission that we need to follow the same paradigm that Jethro brought to Moses. We need to spread the workload out over all of us. Every single one of us needs to be involved. And so we look at the mission of our church. Harvest exists to glorify God through the fulfillment of the Great Commission in the spirit of the Great Commandments. And so I'd encourage you to memorize this. So then the question then becomes, if we're called to make disciples, then how do you define a disciple? So let's define one, okay? And let's make it simple. And let's make it clear. And let's be urgent about it. And so we, our church, are going to define a disciple as one who walks with God, with Christ, and one who works for Christ, and one who worships Christ. We call them the 3 W's. They're all over the place. We want you to see them. We want people to know. We want it to be simple. We want people to get it. I heard a little guy say, yeah, he gets it. He sees the 3 W's. Even our little kids. What's a disciple for Jesus? A disciple of God is going to be a person who walks and works and worships. Everyone can get this. We want our kids to get it. We want them to know what it is. So many churches, people walk in and they say, am I doing it yet? I've been here for 3 years. Am I there yet? They have no measurement. And what we want to say is someone who walks and works and worships Christ who is a disciple for Jesus really is. And then you have to ask the question then, how do we make disciples? And so I'm going to let you in on a little secret, okay? So like here's the inner workings. We got this plan, okay? But there's other plans out there. They're equally good. But we just need one. This is ours, okay? We call this the, nope, that's going to play the video. We don't want to do that. Okay. Steve, I don't know why that's going that way. Oh, there it is. Whatever that is. I want that piece. So this is our assimilation funnel, okay? So like a funnel, it's wide at the top and it's narrow at the bottom. You got a bunch of gas you want to put in your lawnmower. You spill it all over the place. You get a funnel. You dump it into the big hole. It goes down to a little hole. So you put it in the top and it comes out the bottom. We got a funnel here and how we're going to make disciples, okay? Here's how we're going to do it. Let me see if this works. At the top, you can see our worship service. And then on the bottom, I know it's not 100% clear. It's the clearest picture I can get. You can see walk with Christ and work with Christ. You see the 3 W's, worship Christ, walk with Christ, and work for Christ. We want everyone to be doing that. How are we going to help people get there, okay? I want you to know this so that you can help people get there, okay? Why? Because we're going to spread it out and help everyone to be part of this whole thing. First thing we have is our guest reception. That's when you go out of the door and there you see a booth there, and that booth has people who are smiling and welcoming and saying, thanks for coming to Harvest. Is there anything that we could answer about that? Here's a free gift. Enjoy that. We want people to get a handshake. We want people to know that they're loved and that we're concerned for them. We want them to know what we're about in our church, and so we tell them every single week, we won't skip a week. Go to the guest reception out there so they can get welcome to our church. It's the first part of coming into our church. And then we have this thing called Party with the Pastors. It's where the pastor gets to meet with you. And our church is smaller. It's easier to get a piece of time with the pastor. But as the church gets larger, it's harder and harder. And so this party becomes this opportunity for people, small groups of people, to get to meet with the pastors and elders. And we had one of those in December. We're going to have the next one in March, okay? We're already scheduled to have the next one in March, and we're going to invite people who are new to our church, who are not with us, to come and to get to meet the pastor, okay? So we already got our next one already planned, and from there what we want to do is encourage people to come to Peak Performance. That's our membership class. We want people to understand what the commitment's all about, what our church is about, and you can see how it works. People come into the church, they get a welcome in the parking lot, they get greeted when they come in, and they're told, go to guest reception. From guest reception, they're invited to go to party with the pastor. From there, they're invited to come to Peak Performance, where we teach them what are the commitments to belong to this church. What do we need to give to you? What do you need to give to us? We want to make sure it's a clear deal. Everyone gets what's going on. We are not looking to bait and switch. We're saying, here's what it is to come and be part of Harvest. And we teach that at Peak Performance. And then we have membership. We're going to have a membership for those who have gone through Peak Performance in mid-January, probably 3 weeks from now, thereabouts. And it'll be our first membership where everybody will join. And then we want people to join our church. And then from there, after they become members of our church, we want people then to go to Walk with Christ. And our Walk with Christ aspect is going to be in our small group environment. It's going to be the place that we're teaching people to walk with Jesus. And so we're going to encourage everyone to come to a small group. If you come to a Harvest Bible Chapel, if you come to Harvest Western Mass, you're going to be encouraged over and over and over to come to a small group. I'm busy. We'll get a different day for you. I get up early. We'll come earlier. I go away for the weekend. I'm only home on the weekend. We'll have a Saturday group for you. We'll have a group for you. We want you to be in a small group because we believe it's there that you're really going to walk with Christ. It's there that you're going to be held accountable. It's there that you're not going to slip away and just drift away out the back door. It's there that you're going to know that you are loved. It's there that you're going to get the touch of somebody saying, I need you. It's here that you're going to have the worship experience and the big teaching environment. This is the furnace to the whole factory. The factory is the small group place. It's where we help people go deep with Christ. We need people to go to small group, and we're going to encourage that. And then we're going to encourage people to work with Christ. And why in the world would we do that? Because Jethro says you can't do all of it by yourself. And we need everybody to be part of this whole system. We want people to get a position and to be involved with it. So we have this discipleship funnel that we're working with, and it's going to be how we're going to do church. We want everyone to understand it. And so then, how will we grow our church? We'll grow our church like this, by you telling people about Jesus. That's how. That's what we talked about witnessing a couple weeks ago. That's why I gave you those tools. I hope you downloaded them. I hope you're studying them. I hope you're preparing. I hope you're begging God, God, give me one person to witness this year. God, give me fruit of one person turning to Jesus. Father, help me to win one person to Christ. Are you praying for that? Are you looking for that? Are you looking for opportunities to share the gospel? Do you think they're going to come in here and get excited about how we're going to do church if they don't know Christ themselves? Not at all. This is for us here to encourage us, to build us up, so that now we can go out into the work world and do our job. And there we need to let our light shine before men and see people come to Christ. And so how will we grow our church? I won't grow our church. I won't. You'll grow our church. We'll go into the world and grow our church. Let me invite you to do that. Let me have you put on your prayer list this year. Start on your notes, a little to-do list on things you need to do. One of the things will be that I'm going to invite people to Christ. The next is planting local churches. It's our goal to plant 10 churches in the next 15 years in the Pioneer Valley. The more I look at this, the more I think, well, we should just include the Berkshire County, and so now it's not the Pioneer Valley, now it needs to be Western Massachusetts, 814,000 people. I'm asking all the time for people to plant the church. I've asked and asked and asked and asked. I'm asking for us to get, I want to see us plant 10 churches in the next 15 years. Surely we can do that, can't we? Surely. It's 10 puny, pathetic churches like us. Surely we can do that. I've asked Ray Belden to memorize everything he's done to help us get to this place and help us build this church so that we can help the next guy have it way easier. 10 churches. We're going to plant churches locally. We're going to give our money to the fellowship. The fellowship has planted 90 churches around the country. In about 3 or 4 weeks from now, there's going to be about 10 guys who are going to go and plant churches all around our country. 10 different churches. And so we're going to give money to that to help them so that they can get off on the right foot without starving to death. We're part of that. We give money as a church every single month to that. So we're going to be involved with the fellowship. We're also going to be involved with the missions churches. I'm hoping this year that we get to select a church that we're going to help in some foreign country where we're going to be able to help them to grow. And I'm hoping it's going to be in Europe because I've always wanted to go to Europe, number one. And I don't know, it's just on my heart. And I hope it's going to be the eastern part of Europe. And hopefully we can get a church that is growing there and we can become the sister church of that church. And hopefully you can go there and you can invest with those people. So we're going to help grow the church by growing our church numerically. We're going to help grow the church by planting churches in our geographic area. And we're going to have a worldwide vision of helping to plant churches around the world. We're going to organize our church. Again, we've looked at the different ways we can organize. It's 28 different areas. Nate and I are meeting again this week to help organize all those things and make sure we're not dropping the ball in any areas. We're just becoming a 501c3 organization. The application to become that is a half an inch thick. It is a lot of work that's gone on. Ruth Ann has worked tirelessly with that. We have a lawyer that's in Worcester who has given his services to us for absolutely free. It's called Lawyers and Churches. It's his ministry this guy started to help churches like ours not have to pay lots of money to get their legal stuff done. We're almost through with that, and we're almost a legitimate 501c3. We have a number of areas to manage. We're going to start this year a strategic plan that will give us a 5-year plan on what our major goals are going to do. So 2012 will be the year that we develop the strategic plan that will be implemented from 2013 to 2018. You'll be part of that. You'll hear more about that in the days to come. Jethro had a plan, and we need to have a plan. And so now we're looking at where we've come from. We're looking at how we're doing. We're looking at how we're attempting to do this. Now, what do you do? What's your part of the plan? Well, let me encourage you to come here on Sunday mornings prepared. Don't come here late. Don't come here flustered. Don't come here not prepared. Come prepared to do 2 things: to worship God. Come prepared to worship God as Woody leads us, worshiping God and raising